Hello, hi everyone. Thank you so much for coming back, or maybe it is your first time to click and want to listen to the Global Female Leadership Summit, part 7 of 8. Tariq Mohammadi is at your service to present top speakers from around the world. And in this part, I'm going to start with the Aisha J. Bebaha. She is the president of Professional Speaker Association of Bangladesh. She is going to talk about cognitive understanding in work. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear and educate and learn and get motivation and inspiration from Aisha J. Bebaha.
Hello everyone, this is Aisha J. Biva, and today I will be speaking for the Professional Speaking Association Afghanistan, and I'm very excited for sharing some of my insights in this session. So before I go into my topic, I would like to share a little bit about me so we can know each other and we can understand how we can add value to our today's session. So a little bit about me. I am the president of Professional Speakers Bangladesh, and we have started working from 2018. And in Professional Speaking Bangladesh, we also have close connection and some events going on with Professional Speaking South Africa that we called Launch Program. And 2019, I first spoke at the event called GSF event, Global Speaking Federation. Then we worked together along with the other association, including PSAA, South African Association, Malaysian Association, Philippines Association, and also the Singapore Asian Professional Speaking Association, and also in Indian Association. So we are closely working with this association from Bangladesh, and we are trying to making the pie bigger, as we always say, being a part of a professional speaking association. And today, I would like to share some of my journey and some of my insights over the time so that I can add value from wherever you are at. So it doesn't matter where you are. It's more about where you want to go. So being a professional speaker, and I didn't dream that dream before 2016. Yes, I mean that it's not a long way, right? So once I moved, I actually live in Australia. Little bit about my journey and my story. I think that will help you to understand from where I'm here today, and to understand if you want to reach yourself to a place where you want to go, you can. And that's what I call it's about rewiring your mind, and you can rewire that. It doesn't matter how the society wants to see you. It doesn't matter what your family asks you to do, but it's more, how do you see yourself and how do you rewire your mind so that you can navigate and give you the right direction to move toward that place. So I didn't have any experience of professional speaking before 2016, and I was passionate. I was in teaching position. Yes, there is some sort of speaking in front of the audience, but as a non-English speaking speaker, it was very fearful for me to speak in front of audience where everybody speaks English, right? So I was like, I was looking at what can I do to make myself moving into that journey, and I ended up being a part of a professional speaking association that helped me a lot to be mentored by the right people who know how to do the work and what should I do for myself. And I think that is our biggest strength, being a part of association, because we get the advice, get the feedback from people who know the thing, who went through all these things, and who knows what works, right? So we may have a lot of good friends, family, and very respected and honorable people in our around us in our society, but if they didn't have any experience as a professional speaker, it's better not to take their feedback, right? So that's where I come from, and I was very, I should say, the very curious to know what people are doing, how do they do this, and what can I do to reach myself into that position. So having that mindset moved me into the journey, or ended up with a TEDx talk. I spoke at PAPS, which is in Philippines. I also spoke at US, which is online recording, but I got opportunity because I did the TED Talks, and I also do a lot of coaching session for people around the world, and that's how my journey started. And everything I would like to relate today is because you can rewire your mind, by which I mean that if you have a belief, or if you have a old way of thinking, you can remove that from your brain, from your mind, and you can have a new connection in your brain. What do I mean by that? So as I studied neuroscience in leadership, so I want to share about some insights that I learned from neuroscience of leadership, especially as a woman, as a Muslim woman from a country where women are very much navigated by the society. How do you step up? How do you speak your own, the dream and your own truth in a place where it's not been in a practice before, right? So it's very difficult to understand whether it's a right way or not. So before going to the right or wrong, we rather focus on our true passion, true values, and that's where it starts, your mindset. So your mindset is the tool that can help you to navigate you toward the right path. And you can see in the screen there are a lot of instruments that's scanning our brain. And yes, there are research and there are some evidence that says that you can navigate your brain and you can rewrite your future by rewiring your brain. A little bit information about the brain, if I may. So our brain has got three main parts. One is the PFC, prefrontal cortex, which is at the behind of our forehead. Number two is the limbic system, which is in the middle part of our brain. And number three is our amygdala, which is responsible for any kind of, protecting us, securing us, saving us from any incident, any negative situation. So among these three, our prefrontal cortex, or PFC, that you can see on the picture, like which is in the just the back of our forehead, it's responsible for navigating all the rational decision. It scan all the information, process that, and then it decide whether you will go in this direction or into the other direction. So if you see there is some sort of clue that's triggering any sort of fear or negative message, you arouse your amygdala, which stop you to make any decision, to make any move. And on the same time, it will stop creating a lot of negative emotion inside of your brain, and you will process and find all the negative reason for not doing or not taking the action. So if this is so, then what can we do? So yes, that is the question. So we can instead rather we can start rewarding and finding what is the positive thing so that we can take some action. We can get addicted to give us some sort of good feelings. Addicted is in a good sense though. So the good feelings, by which we mean, if you have done something for yourself, if you have taken any decision, if you have make any changes, say for example today you are watching the video and you're trying to learn something, you're trying to take some notes, this is a positive change of your behavior, right? You're trying to learn something. So if you can keep doing this one by one, not being worried about how do I apply this, am I enough to do this, I'm not good enough in English, who will be listening to me? So if you're not moving into that direction of all the negative thoughts, all the fears and all bad things that comes into your mind, rather focusing on what are the good things that could be happening in your in your life. So that will tremendously change your mindset, and that will also help you to take a decision towards your dream, towards your goal. And that's the reason why we human can actually rewire our brain. There is a science, there is a finding in this research by National Science Federation in US. They said people has got like 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day, and out of which is 95% repetitive and 80% are negative. So you can understand what a big part of our thoughts are negative and repetitive. So if you keep repeating all this negative thought, your whole brain or your whole mind is full of all the negative thing, and you don't have any space to move forward to see all the possibilities. You always see impossible, it's not possible for me. So it's rather we can start seeing all the possibilities, we can start seeing the reward. How can I be a great speaker? What can I do today that will give me a lot of value? Yes, I will end up saying sharing some of my tips to start the journey, those who are at the very beginning stage. So that might be very helpful. And also another research which says the 5% people they think, 10% people they think that they think, but 85% people basically they don't prefer not to think, instead of in a fun way, like they would rather die than thinking. So you can start the thought process now. So my question is, you can ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Am I thinking to be one of the professional speaker in the world so that I can also change people's change the world and change people's belief and change people to see things in a different way? So if you are thinking in that direction, I will say that's only one thing that you need is your decision to make a mindset, to have the courage, to have the vulnerability inside of you so that you can take that as a long-term goal. So because I'm talking the long-term goal, because speaking, if you want to count on that you're gonna learn how to speak in 1 week and the second week you'll start earning money, we cannot, because speaking is such a beautiful profession and such a way you can over the time evolve and nurture and practice and get better and better and better every day. And the more you get better, the more your reward will be. So it's a long-term goal, it's not a short-term goal. First of all, that's our tip number 1 for today. Okay, so it's a long-term goal that you're gonna take a decision. Yes, I am dedicated, I am doing a one small thing every day, and that will make me reaching that goal, which is my speaking business. And remember, whatever meaning you have out of any learning, that's what you also making a change in yourself. So once you are watching every video, make sure you try to understand making a meaning for yourself so that you can make a change for yourself. So take some notes, not only the content, but also try to take some notes on what does it mean to me? What is the one little thing that I will be doing? The one little thing could be different thing for different people, right? So you will understand your position, your place, where you are at. Are you at the very beginning stage of your career, or almost trying to finish your study? Wherever you are at, but you can take one small step to move you forward. And you will definitely see that there are a lot of negative thoughts are coming up in on your place. So how do you spend some time so that you do not keep practicing all this negative thought, all these negative beliefs, and you can actually take yourself away one step further to cross that boundary, cross that barrier. And once you can come up with a totally different mindset, which will create new dots to take you to the new direction. So if you start now, if I can connect my dot, for example, I can see on 2016, I was completely confused. I didn't know where to go. I was trying to look at some people, watch some videos, try to learn how to be better in speaking in English, trying to listen to the podcast so that I can be practicing speaking in English in a better way. I'm not that good at this moment too, but yes, I'm a little better than what I started from. Then in 2017, I started doing some course, taking some action and applying that learning in a practical situation, in my teaching, in my coaching session, in my session that I took for the companies in both in my country and also in Australia. And then I got a chance to speak in a big crowd, right? So in 2018, I started um, going to the conferences, start speaking, and the moment I stepped on the platform, the stage, I was still very shaky and I was still very nervous about everything. That am I good enough? So that thought never goes off from your head, remember. So it doesn't mean that you do not step on the stage. You always step on the stage. I know I'm not good enough, but I know myself better than anybody else, and I know my message. I know what I'm doing here and what I can give as a value to other people. If you know your next dot, you can create the dot according to your dream. So that's what I want you to ask. What is my next dot? Is it doing some online courses? We professional speaking associations are very happy to help each other. We are offering lots of training and lots of practice session to everybody around the world. So you can join and be a part of the association and try to learn, because speaking is such a skill that's create a platform for your leadership. And regardless if you're men or women, especially for women, we also have some advantage that we are more nurturing, we're more caring. It's not a bad thing of being a woman. It's rather a very good thing. We can create better than what we have today because we are nurturing. We can enhance what we can have in ourselves. So take that as your advantage and create your new meaningful dots that will connect to your long-term goal. Remember, I was talking about the long-term goal. Now I'm talking about the dots that you want to connect in future, looking at your backwards so that you can just get rid of some pattern, same pattern. Just do not use the same dot that you have been doing in your past. Try to identify what my next dot will be so that you can consciously and aware about your next dot. So remember, speaking or career or leadership is not a marathon. It's not a race. It's a marathon. You have to be like always into this, but you don't have to rush. You don't have to meet the deadline as soon as possible, quicker. I know I have to do it now, right at this moment. This attitude will not take you further. It will make some small wins, but which will not take you further. So if you want to sustain, if you want to continue for the long term, then you have to take it as a marathon. Like, how do I make some changes every day over the time? So think about the long term. Think about what you will say no that you had been doing in your past, and what you will be your new yeses for creating a long-term goal and achieving those long-term goals. Take 5 action at a time. Give yourself 5 little goal, and take 5 days at a time. So make some small game for yourself so that you can keep improving over the time. So don't need to take a rush, just keep improving every day. So your everyday's sum total will give you the reward in tomorrow. So whatever you are today is the sum total of what you have done in past years, past days. But if you want to do something different, you have to start counting differently from now on. So that's what I want to say. And also remember that there is a science, and Dr. Oliver Holmes, he says that once your mind is stretched with a new idea, you cannot go to the original dimension. So which is a very good thing, that you can mold and fold your journey. You can rewire your way of seeing thing, understanding thing, and doing things, so that you can take yourself to the next level. Because your brain is plastic. You can mold it, shape it, reshape it, because this is the science, and you can do it at any age, and it has been proven in science that you can do it at any age. So question yourself, where am I today, and where do I want to go? So what's your story? And remember, you need to know that any speaking business, whenever you are stepping on the stage, you are already a leader. It doesn't mean that whether you are male or female. It doesn't mean what's your age. It doesn't also matter what's your experience. Everything matters with your own story. If you know your story, you can be comfortable with that. Just you don't have to change anything. And from there, you can start building your own brand. And that was my starting point. In 2018, I started developing my brand because I tried to spend some time to understand my story as a woman, as a and once I moved into Australia, which is culturally different, and I've got to have a very different mindset to sustain in an environment like this. So from there, I started to identify, what am I? What am I passionate about? What I'm good at? What's my credibility? How do I promote myself being me, not as what other people want to see me, not as a criteria to fit with the expectation of the society or expectation of a new culture. I was focusing on myself. So when you can deep dive into yourself and you can identify yourself, you must be very comfortable with that. So you don't have to say that I'm what you are not, right? And once you start doing it regularly, everything will fall accordingly. So start doing that regularly, being yourself, everything will fall accordingly. And for me, the number one tips I will say, start from a social presence. Be seen, be visible everywhere. So you don't want to be seen like that, I believe, but you want to be seen like that, so that everybody can understand what do you mean and what do you stand for. So you can add some message that you want to promote about yourself, and you can have your own beliefs and your passion as a message to other people, which can give some message to other, because there is only one you in the world. There is no duplicate of you, right? If you want to brand yourself, you just need to brand who you are, not somebody else. So think about your logo is your face, could be or something else. Your color, your work is your message, your own personal being, and you believe this, your authenticity is how this will be stronger if you can add that. Your diversity is your uniqueness. So you don't have to be somebody different. If you are, you don't have to be included. If you are different, that means you are unique. If you are unique, that means you are standing out of the crowd. And that's your voice, that's your brand. And personalize your self image, personalize your social image. And that's how you can be the person who is rememberable, and people will remember you even though if you're not in the room. A few tips that I would like to share with you so that you can also apply. First of all, be authentic. You don't have to be somebody else. You don't have to be the best in speaking English. Like I was worried a lot about my accent, my English, but I don't need to be at this moment. And that fear has almost gone because I believe that my accent has got my style. So that's how I am unique if I'm speaking to some people. Start blogging, write some message that can provide value to other people, and step out. You don't have to be somewhere back in the background, right? You can step out. There are so many speakers, they are using the media, social media platform, online platform in such a beautiful way that they have got a place. Everybody knows them by their work. So you can also start doing it, and especially during COVID. Now this beautiful online convention is possible because of COVID. It's more possible to reach out to people online, where being seated on your desk with your laptop with an internet connection, and network with like-minded people. We have different association. Let's network together, let's share our experience. I am always happy to help anybody. If you want me to help you with your personal branding, with your presence, with your message, if you want to identify what's my message is, I'll be happy to help you. So become that creator for yourself, create your message, and stay with your message. Be an expert. Don't try to confuse people by sharing everything. Be an expert by sharing what exactly you love and you have the passion and you know. So let's find that inside of you, and that's how you can amplify yourself. And you can be proactive. If you are proactive, if you are if you can be little social, then everybody will understand you, know you, and understand how you are different from others. So I want you to look at these few tips that you can start with, so that you are not stuck with your old place at this anymore. You can rewire and you can move toward your new place. After that, at the end, I would just like to say, remember, your attitude defines your altitude. So how far you want to go, how high you want to live. Do not become a commodity for everybody. So be a brand. So if you are a commodity, people will take it as a chance whether they want to or not. But if you are a brand, people will free themselves or invest their time and money for you. So take yourself as a brand first, and then people will also treat you as a brand. So that's the main message. And also they will treat your message, your story, your presence as a brand. So you are not only rewiring your mind, but also rewiring other people's minds, so that they can also see you in a different way as a speaker. So that's the power of rewiring. So rewire your mind and drive your new mindset. And that's how you can be a powerful changer in the society in a positive way. And I would love to help you. I would love to give what I know as a part of the beautiful community we have globally, the professional speaking community. And feel free to reach me out. You can take a screenshot, or you can also uh, go through the LinkedIn QR code and connect me via LinkedIn. I'll be happy to help you. And this is our community. I'm very excited for Professional Speaking Association Afghanistan, and I thank you all for listening to me on behalf of Professional Speaking Association Bangladesh. Thank you very much, and Assalamu Alaikum.
That was so good, dear Vivaha. The next speaker. The next speaker is from Japan. The next speaker is going to talk about gender gap. When I had my interview, when we were talking about booking this speaker is going to come up. I'm not going to tell the name. When we were talking about, she said a very, very beautiful thing. She said, in my country, we have the educational for everyone, and everyone is educated. But the job market is not capable to take them inside. So if you guys are planning for Afghanistan, for the future of the country, so the educational institute should be parallel or should be connected with the job market somehow, that the people who studied should get a job. I know we are in the very basic level of letting girls to study and educate in the country, but we know we will pass this away. We will pass this away surely. It is not going to be like this. So we should know what we should study and what we should educate ourselves to use it for our beautiful country in the future. So ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from Mika Maguchi from Japan.
What do you think about Japan? One of the largest economies of the world, beautiful nature, pop culture, clean and safe atmosphere. Yes, those are all somewhat true, but one of the inconvenient truths of Japan is a large gender gap. According to the World Economic Forum Gender Gap Index, Japan is 120th from the least gap, whereas Afghanistan is 156th, which is the last out of participating countries. My name is Mika Magoshi. I was born and raised in the northern part of Japan, and now live in Tokyo. Today, I am here to talk about the 3 important mindsets to cope with gender gap. I would recommend from my experiences 3 mindsets in order to keep going in a rather unequal society. Those are: believe in yourself, do not blame yourself, and focus on what you can do. While I live and work until now, I sometimes felt insecure or helpless when something did not go well. But always realized that I had lost these mindsets when I was down. In other words, even though the situation is somewhat against you, you may be able to be yourself with these mindsets. I will elaborate on them in the following section. Let me start with sharing my personal experiences. I was born in 1968 in Iwate Prefecture, which is in the northern part of mainland Japan. I went to a local elementary school, junior and senior high school in my hometown. I came to Tokyo, the capital city of Japan, when I entered Tokyo University at the age of 18. After graduating with a bachelor's degree, I started working in an American consulting firm in Tokyo. I have been working for 30 years since then, while changing jobs several times. I also studied in the US for 2 years to get my Master of Business degree. I got married when I was 34 years old and gave birth to my only son at the age of 39. Now, I am 53 years old. I may be at your mother's age or older. To tell you the truth, I have never experienced being treated badly only because of my gender, being a woman. However, Japanese society has been built for men for work and women at home mode for a long time. I started experiencing difficulties in working and pursuing my career, especially after I got married and had a child. Actually, in Japan, the gender gap in education is rather small. However, once we women finish school and begin working, such traditional prejudice or social system would challenge us badly. Such a social system effect is something men hardly realize even in Japan. For example, sometimes it is very hard to get a child in a nursery since the capacity of the nursery cannot catch up with the increasing number of working mothers. Even if we can put our children in one successfully, we still need to pick them up rather early considering working hours. Usually the pickers are mothers because the society is little tolerant for fathers to leave work early. In addition, there are few housekeeping outsourcing services in Japan. People tend to feel wives who outsource their housekeeping tasks lazy. In such a situation, the gender gap in the workplace becomes large because it is very difficult to make a performance under that situation. This is really hard to be understood because there's a little explicit discrimination. Even though a husband is happy to leave the office early when his children get sick, he may not be able to do that because his company or colleagues do not allow it or feel uncomfortable. Now, I will talk about how I felt during my life so far. I was very confident in my teens, 20s, and early 30s. I did well in school and worked as well as guys when I was single. Even after I got married, my working style did not change much. Maybe because my husband is supportive of my working. However, once I became a mother, my career stagnated. I could not apply to challenging work since my working hours are limited by raising a child. I did not regret at all having a child, but my confidence will go down significantly as my working career stopped growing. Just a few years ago, I realized that I was too responsible for my career status. Nothing forced me to have a child or to save work for raising him. In that sense, those were my decisions. However, as I described, there are a lot of things which I cannot control in life. I did not have to feel that everything was what I caused. The idea, what did not work out was sometimes caused by the environment or the society to which you belong, freed me. It brought back my confidence gradually and energized me. Well, I agree that the situation is totally different in Afghanistan. In the G7 Foreign Minister's statement, published in last May, Afghan girls and women are deprived of the meaningful participation in education, public life, freedom of movement, and freedom of speech, in addition to work. But still, I believe that the mindsets you should keep are the same as mine. Believe in yourself. Do not blame yourself. Focus on what you can do. Nothing is impossible just because of your gender. Being humble and trying to improve yourself is a very good virtue. However, too much of it harms you seriously. And realize what is out of control and focus on what you can do. Even while I felt I could not perform 100%, I kept working, learning, and improving myself. I am now in the situation I can focus more on work since my kid gets older, and I am still on the way to catch up my career fully. But those past experiences are treasure of myself now. Lastly, I just wanted to clarify one thing. Realizing something uncontrollable does not mean just accepting it. Realize the uncontrollable and focus on the controllable, and keep shouting as well in order to change the current uncontrollable. Today, I walked you through the gender gap situation in Japan and shared my personal story. You may feel your situation is totally different from mine. However, from my experience, I would strongly recommend the key 3 mindsets greatly help you to get it over. Believe in yourself. Do not blame yourself, and focus on what you can do. It's been a great pleasure being with all of you today. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, dear Mika. That was so nice. The next speaker is a speaker which is a specialist in having a roadmap for higher education for Afghanistan women. She talks in the TV and she presents Afghanistan female leader around the world. She lives in Australia right now. Let's Here, ladies and gentlemen, from Rita Anvari.
Hi everyone, this is Rita Anwari, the founder, director of Women Empowerment and Leadership Association based in Australia. I born in Afghanistan, but I've been grown up in Australia. Now today, I would like to talk about education in Afghanistan for the past 20 years. What happened and what's happening now? As we know, unfortunately in Afghanistan right now, through to member of the group which is called the Taliban, they took Afghanistan by force and they closed the school for the girls. So if we go back to our research from 2001, when the first time the regime of the Taliban changed to the new regime took over by American. So we had so much battle for work to get women back in education sector, and also get public TVs, and also get the MPs. So basically, when Ahmed Karzai came up to regime, so Afghan women had a right to being in the public TV, being a journalist, being working in the government, a government sector, and also being as a MP. That sort of freedom Afghanistan had it. But if we go back to history of Afghanistan, the history of Afghanistan, first time with University of Kabul is established was in 1903 by King Nader Khan by the name of Kabul University. So first thing is was the poverty, which is Afghanistan had a biggest issue was the poverty. Then so whatever country is a poverty, the education is going less, and then the gender equality is going less, and then religions. So basically restriction of ideology for women, so to kind of study, or this is coming from religious rule. Lack of the family support. Most of the family wasn't supporting their girl to go to school. When the age of 15 or 14, they ask them to, because you're grown up, you have to stay home. And also war and tourism and fierce bombing. So number one priority was the struggle of Afghanistan education, because the war was ongoing. There was the suicide bomb and everything. And main thing was financial, which is the poverty was coming from that, and also underage marriage. That was the worst thing. That was the struggle of a woman. And if we go for a number, we've got a heap to talk about it, but that is the top 6 of them. It is the marriage, financial issue, war, lack of education inside of the family, and no family support, and religious. So that was the main struggle for Afghan women to couldn't reach the education. So basically we talk about a few different situations in Afghanistan. First was the economic, and also the struggle, and also the improvement, and this Taliban side, and also the Republican side, and the regime of communists. All of those things, we see the graphic, how quickly they was changing. But what we have to do now, which is right now we've got Taliban in Afghanistan, unfortunately. It's a sad part of this. Afghan women and girls all around of the world, they need to be together, and need to be one voice. To have a voice for international committee has on diplomatic side to say no for domestic violence, and let the girl to educate herself. And people, they normally they're saying we have done this one, it's not working, and the Taliban saying we know what we do because it's our own country, it's our own issue inside of that. But no, it's international responsibility, international committee's responsibility, because the way they bring them in Afghanistan and before 15th of August, that way they can control them, and they can ask them to, this is what we need to have the school back open, we need to have girls in in public sectors and also in government sector. So basically it's all about the international committee to make a decision strongly, the way they made the strongly decision to bring them in the power, and also they can do that to change it as well. Thank you so much. I hope you get some little information. Please leave a comment and see how we go next.
Thank you so much, dear Rita. That was so epic. That was so nice. Next speaker is internal PSA Afghanistan speaker. She is a member of Professional Speaker Association of Afghanistan, and she has been working for almost 2.5 years as a head of researcher and translator of PSA Afghanistan. She guides a group of translators right now. She is now also the head of communication of PSA Afghanistan. She is Tuba Azizi. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from Tuba Azizi.
من خدا و با عرض سلام توبا عزیزی مدیر ارتباطات انجمن سخنرانان حرفه‌ای افغانستان هستم. افتخار دارم که در همایش جهانی رهبری زنان سال 2022 میلادی از طرف انجمن سخنرانان حرفه‌ای افغانستان اشتراک کردیم و در مورد تاریخچه تأسیس انجمن و همچنان فعالیت‌هاش به شما معلومات مختصری را ارائه می‌کنم. انجمن سخنرانان حرفه‌ای افغانستان از یک ایده کوچک شکل گرفت و به واقعیت مبدل شد و با زحمات و تلاش‌های فراوان به جایگاه کنونیش قرار گرفت. در اکتبر سال 2018 میلادی انجمن تأسیس شد و در طول سال 2019 میلادی هیئت مدیره این انجمن شکل گرفت. هیئت مدیره این انجمن یکی از قوی‌ترین هیئت مدیره های تاریخ افغانستان میتونم بگویم هست، چون از هر قشر مختلف و ولایت مختلف افغانستان در این هیئت مدیره حضور دارند. از جمله میتونم نام ببرم که آقای محفوظ آریان، آقای روح الله امین، آقای مهراب الدین مبارز، خانم صابره اعتبار، خانم روحینا احمدی و دیگر بزرگان افغانستان در این هیئت مدیره حضور دارند. پس از اینکه هیئت مدیره انجمن شکل گرفت، آقای طارق محمدی با انتخاباتی که در هیئت مدیره برگزار شد به حیث رئیس انجمن تعیین شدند. ایشان 3 سال در رأس انجمن بودند و کارهای اساسی انجمن را انجام دادند. پس از 3 سال در اول جنوری سال جاری سال 2022 میلادی خانم صابره اعتبار طی انتخابات دیگری که در هیئت مدیره برگزار شد به حیث رئیس انجمن برگزیده شدند که 3 سال آینده را ایشان در رأس انجمن خواهد بودند. بعد از اینکه هیئت مدیره شکل گرفت، آقای طارق محمدی رئیس انجمن برگزیده شدند. افتتاحیه در سال 2020 میلادی به شکل حضوری در مزار شریف و همچنان به شکل آنلاین که سخنرانان اصلی به شکل آنلاین سخنرانی داشتن، از جمله روگار هارن، فردریک هارن، جاناتان لا و همچنان دیگر سخنرانان خارجی در این افتتاحیه سخنرانی داشتند و که از جمله سخنرانان اصلی افتتاحیه به حساب می رفتند. پس از افتتاحیه 450 عضو انجمن به گروه های مختلف و یا 30 بخش مختلف تقسیم شدند که هر بخش شامل 15 عضو بود. هر بخش توسط یک رئیس اداره می شد و هر 10 بخش توسط یک رئیس عمومی اداره می شد. در آخر هر هفته گزارشات بود که رئیسان بخش‌ها به رئیسان عمومی و همچنان رئیسان عمومی به رئیس انجمن توسط فایل اکسل گزارشات تحویل می‌دادند و همچنان جلساتی که در پلتفرم زوم جلسات برگزار می‌شد بین اعضا و رئیس بخش و یا همچنان بین رئیسان با رئیسان عمومی و رئیس انجمن جلسات برگزار می‌شد که در مورد فعالیت‌های گذشته و فعالیت‌های آینده و پلان‌های بعدی و کم و کاستی‌ها و پیشنهادات در این جلسات صحبت می‌شد. فعالیت‌ها به قسمی بود که بخش‌ها اعضایش به ترجمان‌ها و ویراستارها تقسیم شده بودند و از هر بخش یک معاون همچنان انتخاب شده بود. متن‌های و یا مقاله‌های انگلیسی در مورد رهبری زنان به بخش ها تحویل داده می شد و مدت زمانی که تعیین می شد بعد از او ترجمان ها از زبان انگلیسی به زبان دری ترجمه می کردن و می سپردن به ویراستارها. ویراستارها بعد از اینکه متن را ویرایش می کردن مقالات دوباره به رئیس انجمن تحویل داده می شد. در او زمان هیئت مدیره انجمن و همچنان گروه های آیتی هسته یک کابل و تمام بخش ها به شکل آنلاین در واتساپ کار می کردن و در واتساپ آنلاین بودن و فعالیت هایشان پیش می بردن. در وقتی که فعالیت های انجمن شروع شد و ای که هر عضو پوزیشنش چی است، تمام اینا قراردادهایی را انجام می کردن که هر کس تحت لایحه وظایفی که داشت و قراردادهایی که داشت وظایفش را پیش می بردن و قراردادها را امضا می کردن. در مورد فعالیت های فعلی می توانم بگویم که شبکه‌های اجتماعی انجمن فعال است و ما در فیسبوک، اینستاگرام، توییتر و همچنان لینکدین فعال هستیم و فعالیت های ما را و همچنان تمام رویدادها را در این شبکه‌های اجتماعی ما نشر میکنیم که اخیراً شاهد هستیم که در مورد رهبری زنان و همچنان در مورد همین همایش جهانی رهبری زنان ما فعالیت‌هایی را در شبکه‌های اجتماعی داشتیم. در مورد هر سخنران بین المللی و یا داخلی که در این همایش اشتراک کردن زندگی نامیشان به معرفی گرفته شده و همچنان به شکل دیزاین دری و انگلیسی عکسشان با زندگی نامیشان در شبکه‌های اجتماعی به نشر رسیده. ما خوشحال هستیم که در هرات، مزار و کابل مراکز انجمن وجود داره و می‌خواهیم که در تمام ولایات روز مراکز انجمن سخنرانان حرفه‌ای افغانستان فعال باشه و فعلا در 16 ولایت ما سخنران به حال داریم که عضو انجمن هستند و دسترسی کامل برایشان داریم. در هرات میتونم از آقای حسیب هزینیار نام ببرم که در رأس تیم هرات ما قرار دارن که ایشان با خانمشان در ابتدایی که انجمن تأسیس شد حضور داشتن و کار کردن و تا فعلا هم حضور دارن و از جمله اعضای هیئت مدیره انجمن هم به حساب میآیند. بر علاوه ما فعلا گروه های کمیونیکیشن داریم که در رأس گروه کمیونیکیشن قرار دارم و همچنان اعضای گروه کمیونیکیشن که شبکه های اجتماعی را فعال نگه داشتند که میخوایم ازشان یادآور شم که خانم نیلوفر حبیبی، خانم روحینا احمدی، خانم فتانه حیدری، آقای ابو نصر فارسی، آقای غلام مرتضی درویش در گروه کمیونیکیشن کار میکنن که تمام فعالیت های شبکه های اجتماعی فعلا به دست گروه کمیونیکیشن است و ما امروز خوشحال هستیم که از ایده کوچک شروع کردیم با تمام زحمات و تلاش ها انجمن سخنرانان حرفه‌ای افغانستان را از نقطه ابتدا به سطح فعلیش رساندیم و ما تلاش میکنیم و زحمات ما را بیشتر میکنیم تا انجمن سخنرانان حرفه‌ای افغانستان را به افغانستان و همچنان جهانیان معرفی کنیم و روز بتانیم در سطح بین المللی فعالیت های بیشتر داشته باشیم. با تشکر از انجمن سخنرانان حرفه‌ای افغانستان که فرصت سخنرانی در این همایش بزرگ برام دادند و تانستم که من هم عضو کوچکی از این همایش باشم.
Thank you Tuba Azizi, that was so nice. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker is going to tell you more about how you can live a life which has a purpose, which has goal, which has aim, somewhere to go. A value-driven life. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from Chantale Butta.
Now, I can't claim to know what it must be like to be a woman living in Afghanistan, much less under Taliban rule. Being a foreigner, I will never know, but I am a woman, and I do know some things, and I do want to share with you today. I do know how to raise a child single-handedly and without support. I've been a single mom for 24 years. I do know how it feels to have no one to share my burdens with me, as this is a road I've walked alone. I do know how it feels to second guess myself and my decisions every step of the way. And I do know how it feels to be a woman in a man's world. And through all of this, I've learned to trust my feminine wisdom, my intuition. And this is what I want to share with you today. And hopefully you can garner some of that wisdom for yourself too. That's my wish for you. My name is Chantel Buerta. I'm from South Africa and I run a company called Dragonfly. We do life and career coaching, and what our purpose is to help people liberate their self-actualization journeys. That is my mission in life. Now, I know that sounds like quite a mouthful, but let me unpack it for you before we really get into things. So let's look at self-actualization. Self-actualization is basically just the fulfillment of your potential. And your potential implies you've followed your purpose. Now, the closest thing I can get to this example of that feeling of fulfilling your potential is that time when you held your newborn baby in your arms for the very first time. If you can relate to this, did you not feel absolutely complete? Did you not feel at peace? Did you not feel like the world could stop and everything was fine? It was just such a perfect moment. Now that to me is the definition of fulfillment of potential. Now I believe that we don't have to have pockets or moments of time in our lives like this. I believe that we can live a life of fulfillment. Irrespective of the circumstances around you, it is possible to experience that feeling every single day. Now, it took me just over 20 years to get to that understanding, but my encouragement to you today is if I did it, you can too. So let's come back to my statement, liberate your self-actualization journey. We've explored what self-actualization is. Let's look at why I call it a journey. And the first thing I want to say is this is not a destination. Like the moment I described when you held your newborn baby for the first time, that's a destination. But a life of fulfillment, a life of realizing your potential is not a destination. It is a journey. It's something you will pursue forever. Now, many life coaches and motivational speakers will tell you that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts. And if you want to change your life, you simply need to change your thoughts. And they're absolutely right. But what they don't tell you is that this is not a one-time deal. This is an ongoing process. Every morning when you wake up, you're going to have to change your thoughts. Every time you come face to face with a new situation that you feel a little bit legless in, you're going to have to change your thoughts. This is an ongoing journey. And every day you're going to be asked that question, what is your choice going to be today? And finally, why would I call it, or why would I say you need to liberate this self-actualization journey? Surely, like you've just said, you make a choice and off you go. Now that's not the case. We really need to look at why we need to liberate this journey. Okay, so I'm going to start with, we are women. There's many reasons we need to liberate this journey, but let's start with we are women. And around the world, in different countries and in different societies, we have been subject to certain paradigms and certain legislations even that subdue us as women. Some of them have deprived us of education. Some of them have denied our economic liberty. In a lot of cases around the globe, women earn less than men. So in order to liberate this journey, we need to rise above these paradigms. We do not need to come into agreement with these paradigms, even if they're legislated. These are paradigms that society pushes on us, and we need to decide what do we come into agreement with. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about liberating this journey. You need to give wings to your dreams. You need to give permission to yourself to pursue your dreams. No one can extinguish that fire you have inside you. You have potential. You have a purpose. There is a reason that you are here now, in this place, in this time. And I'm asking you today to give permission to yourself to seek out that reason, to find your purpose, and to ultimately fulfill your potential. Liberate your journey. Pursue self-actualization. So that is what I mean when I say liberate your self-actualization journey. So I'm going to start today's talk with the dragonfly, ultimately. And the dragonfly is a little known insect, and it probably sounds a little bit like, where are you going with this, Chantal? And I completely get that. First of all, I want to tell you, I've been fond of the dragonfly for many, many years. For some reason, I've just been fascinated by this insect, and as I started studying it, I started learning that it means the symbolization in many cultures across the world of a dragonfly is change and transformation. But it's so much more than that. And that's why ultimately for my 40th birthday, I decided to tattoo a dragonfly on my body as part of my name, as part of my purpose. Because I am committed to change and transformation. I am committed to becoming the best version of me I can possibly become. So what I want to do with you today is I want to share 5 characteristics of the dragonfly. I want to share how these characteristics have created lessons in my life, and how I've walked through these lessons, and how you too can take these characteristics and transform them into lessons in your life. So the first characteristic that I want to share with you of a dragonfly is its depth of character. Now, I've told you that a dragonfly symbolizes change, but more than this, it symbolizes change in the perspective of your self-realization. And that talks of knowing who you are. This is the kind of change that is steeped in mental and emotional maturity. We can only ask ourselves the question, who am I? When we're mature enough to face the answer. And this comes with time, and this comes with growth. It also talks, this depth of character talks about the deeper meaning of life. As we start looking inwards and we start understanding who we are, I believe we start getting a glimpse into the deeper meaning of life. And all of this is tied to purpose, ultimately. There's another facet to this depth of character with regards to dragonflies, and you'll often see a dragonfly darting across the water, and this speaks to me of going beyond what's just on the surface. Now, I personally can't teach something I've never learned. It's something I'm absolutely emphatic about. And I personally have learned to look within and to grow through life's experiences. I've learned to turn the things that I see around and to see them in a different way. I've learned to reframe my experiences as opportunities. And I've been through some hair-raising experiences. I've learned to look beneath the surface and to find meaning in my life, and to start pulling all those threads together in pursuing my purpose. So at this point, I want to start sharing with you my story. In 2011, I had just come clean from a nasty drug habit. I had lost everything as a result of some terrible life decisions I had made. I had no house, I had no car. I'd even lost my pets. Yes, my pets died on me around the same time. I was in a terrible situation. I was in the darkest time of my life. I had no income. I had nowhere to live. I was literally at the mercy of the world. At the time, my dad was one of my biggest supporters in my life. He supported me through quitting drugs and rehabilitating my life, and he was a really strong influence in my life. And I was having a massive pity party with him one afternoon. And I was just remonstrating at the fates. And I said to him, it's not fair. Why am I experiencing this? And why me? And why should I be going through this? And I really just unburdened myself. Can you relate? I'm sure we've all done this from time to time. But here's the thing. I'll never forget what my dad said to me that day. my dad said to me, Sean, don't ask why me, ask what next. That, to me, was so powerful. So the second characteristic of the noble dragonfly that I'd like to introduce you to is this power and poise that this insect exhibits. Now, the dragonfly can fly in 6 different directions. Not many insects or birds can do this. And this just exudes this sense of power and poise with it that only comes, again, with age and maturity. Did you know that the dragonfly can fly at 45 miles an hour? It can hover like a helicopter. It can go forwards, backwards, left, right, up, down. Its maneuverability is it's a sheer marvel. And did you know that it can do this while it's only beating its wings at 30 times per minute? Whereas the average housefly needs to beat his wings at 1,000 times per minute. Now, if that is not a brazen, lazy, overkill display of raw power, I don't know what is. Now, I couldn't hope to teach you how to pull off that kind of display. Of course, everything we're talking about here is totally symbolic. But what I can tell you is that when you start finding your purpose, you move into a personal sense of power that gives you the poise and the purpose to move forward through life with a different intention. Now, I've spoken a lot about purpose, and I want to unpack purpose a little bit, because I think many people look at purpose and we hear these speakers and we hear people telling us, find your purpose, and there's so much coming at us in terms of what's your purpose in life, that I think many of us, myself included, have this notion that purpose is a lofty ideal. It is something that is so far removed from our current reality as to be almost unattainable. It's an alien concept. It's something that we can't quite relate to, particularly when you're mired in a situation where you feel completely helpless. And I can only come back to that situation I was experiencing in 2011 and say I felt completely helpless. And if someone said to me at that point in time, Chantel, find your purpose, I would have been like, really? Are you really going to say that to me? So here's the thing. Let me simplify purpose for you today. And this is what my dad helped me to do. You need to simply drill down. When you're in such a chaotic situation, just drill down and ask yourself, what is my purpose today? What am I here for today? And that's it. And as you unfold that purpose today, you step into a sense of personal power. And then tomorrow you ask yourself the same question. What is my purpose today? And next week you ask yourself the same question. What is my purpose today? And as you start building on this habit, you will notice that you'll start asking yourself, what is my purpose this month? What is my purpose this year? You might even go beyond that and say, what is my purpose? Full stop. And that, friends, is how you start uncovering your purpose. So coming back to my dad's story, or to my story, and coming back to my dad's words that he gave me that day in 2011, he said to me, Sean, don't ask why, ask what next. And I need to tell you that those were the last words my dad ever spoke to me. He passed away of a heart attack the very next day. But those words have carried me through every single day since then. I used those words as my mantra in the beginning, and I used them to pull me out of the pit. And it took me 2 years to find a job. And I was unemployed for that time, and I had no income, and life was really difficult. And I was a single mom. But I used those words every single day, and I asked, what next? What now? What is my purpose today? And sometimes I could only see as far as an hour into the future, and that's okay. That's what started me. And slowly as I built up, and slowly as I walked through that journey, I started and I found a job. And from that first job, I was able to build my career, and I was able to amplify, and I was able to really start pursuing self-development in myself. And I became really committed to finding my purpose. And I became really committed to asking myself the big questions. And the question of what now and what next started becoming a bigger question. It was not just for today. It was for this week, this month, and this year. And for the first time, I found myself dreaming. And I started moving forward in that. And what I did is I started to pursue my purpose. And as I asked myself the big questions, who am I? I found the golden thread. And I saw it was so evident as I looked back in my life. At every point in my life, since the earliest times I can remember, I have inspired people and I have empowered people. I like to encourage people. I like to show them different perspectives. I like deep philosophical conversations. And it dawned on me one day that my purpose was to inspire and to empower. And in so doing, I believe I stepped into my power. Simply acknowledging that that was my purpose, I stepped into my personal power. The third characteristic of the dragonfly that I would like to share with you is defeat of illusion. Now, you've seen dragonflies, and if you're anything like me, my goodness, they are pretty, because there's just light and colors that come at you. Now, this is a property on the dragonfly called iridescence. And the dragonfly has got iridescence on both its wings and its bodies. Oh, listen to me. What the iridescence allows it to do is to show itself in different colors depending on the angle and the polarization of the light that is hitting it. Now, that to me talks to the end of self-created illusions. How many of us don't have self-created illusions in our lives? And one of the self-created illusions was, why me? Poor me. And I believe I defeated this as I started following my dad's words and my dad's advice. What this also talks to, this property of iridescence and this defeat of illusion, is it talks to this clear vision and this clarity into the realities of life. And it talks about unmasking who you really are and putting paid to the doubts that you experience. And this for me was huge. This is all about self-discovery, but this is more than that. It's about removing those inhibitions and removing the doubt and removing and defeating the illusions that we put up with in our lives and that we needn't put up with. And it's only through a period of reflection and self-evaluation and this journey that you can start defeating the illusions that you have in your life. So let's come back to my story. I told you that I figured out that my purpose in life was to inspire and to empower. I had, as a result of uncovering that purpose, I had an inherent desire to start coaching or to start training or to start some sort of vocation where I could start inspiring and empowering people. So I commenced on a journey where I started looking for a job in this field. Now, here's the thing. I had never been a coach before this time, and no one would hire me. And I found that the job market was just slamming doors in my face, left, right, and center. Even the company that I worked with or worked for, I applied for an internal promotion into a training position. And I'll never forget their words to me. This position will not suit you, Chantal. You won't be good at this position. They said that to me. This was an illusion that I bought into for a time. In addition to that, so what I started thinking is man, it looks like you're going to have to go into your own business. And there was one thing that I was absolutely clear on. I did not want to be in my own business again. By this time of my life, I had 3 failed businesses under my belt. And I was absolutely emphatic that I didn't want my own business. But as these doors kept slamming shut, and it seemed like there was no hope for me to pursue my purpose, gradually I accepted the defeat of the illusions that I had imposed on myself, and I conceded that the only way to fulfill my purpose was to start my own business. And that's what I did. The fourth characteristic of the dragonfly that I'd like to share with you today is mindfulness. And mindfulness has become something that's incredibly close to my heart. And as I go through this characteristic with you, I'm going to share with you why it's something that I hold as incredibly valuable to me. So the dragonfly spends most of its life as a nymph. Now, a nymph basically just means it's immature, it's not a full adult. So when the dragonfly becomes an adult, it's generally only for a few months. Some dragonflies live as an adult for a few weeks. Some live as an adult for only a few months. It flies for a fraction of its life because, of course, when it's a nymph, it doesn't fly. So when it becomes an adult, it takes to the skies and it loves and it does everything in those few months. It crams all of its living into that short time that it's alive. It is fully present. It leaves nothing to be desired. It lives in the moment, and it lives to its absolute fullest. Is this not the truest definition of embracing one's purpose you've ever heard? And this is why this characteristic resonates with me so much. When you are mindful, you know who you are, you know where you are, you know what you're doing, you know what you want, and you know what you don't want. And you are able to make informed choices on a moment-to-moment basis. And you are able to embrace life and live life as fully and as meaningfully in that moment. Now, friends, I must tell you, I've lived a life worthy of regrets. I alluded to my drug history previously, and there are many things that I did when I was on drugs that I regret. There are many relationships that I broke, not to mention the relationship with my son. We've got a great relationship today, but I put him through some really hard times, and it was unnecessary, and it was down to my decisions. But what I've decided is regret is a futile emotion. Regret keeps us mired in the past. And regret keeps us living in the past, and we don't need to live that way. I've made reparation for the mistakes that I've made in my life, but more than that I cannot do. I'm not going to spend my time living in the past in my head. I have decided to fully embrace life today and every day. I embrace whatever life throws at me. And yeah, this is not to say that there are not tough situations, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But I live in the moment. I am committed to, what's that phrase, sucking the marrow out of every moment. And that is what I want to encourage you to do in your life too. Despite the circumstances around you, you can live fully in the moment. So coming back to my story, when I defeated my self-created illusions and I decided there is but one choice. You will have to open your business. And of course I opened my doors late in 2019. So as I speak to you today, I've been going for nearly 3 years, probably about 2.5 years. And friends, it has been a wild ride. There have been days where I have thought, just pack it in and go and get a job. And then there's this little voice that talks to me and says, but what about fulfilling your purpose? Chantal, what about your mission? And then there's another voice that reminds me of my dad's voice saying, stop asking why and ask what next. And when I hit those tough times, and friends, there's been tough times in business. This is not a rags to riches story. I'm still building my business. My business is still in its infancy. It's nowhere near where I hoped it would be by this point in time. Business is not easy. But this is not about focusing on the negative. This is about choosing to be mindful and choosing to live in the moment. And that is what has got me through the turbulent times thus far. And that is what will continue to get me through any turbulent times I may face in the future. I commit to remaining present in the moment. And when all around me is going to pieces, I come back to gratitude. I have a car. I have a house. I don't have pets anymore. But I'm safe. I'm loved, and it's okay. And I'm just grateful for what I have in the moment. And that's really my message to you. If you take any of the characteristics of the dragonfly and choose to follow them and implement them in your own life, choose this one. Choose mindfulness, because it's such a blessing. The fifth characteristic of the dragonfly is vision. Now, again, and I know I marvel a lot about the dragonflies, but a dragonfly's sight is a marvel. Up to 80% of the dragonfly's brain is dedicated to his vision. That's how important sight is in that little head of his. A dragonfly can see 360 degrees around it at any given time. Isn't this incredible? And this to me symbolizes our ability to rise above our current reality and to see the vastness of our universe. But not only the vastness of our universe, to see the depths of our own souls, the depths of our own minds. And again, I come back to self-realization. We have to start knowing ourselves to be able to start seeing ourselves for who we truly are. Now, I have a dream, and my dream is not steeped in fame or glory. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to have the glory and the adulation of millions. But I have a dream to reach as many people as possible, to inspire them to change and to empower them to transform their lives. I have a dream to share what I've experienced and to help other people see change in their lives too. This for me is where it comes back to liberate your self-actualization journey. Now here's what I want to share with you. My reality does not quite live up to my dream just yet. So I have some digital career programs, and I've probably had about 200 people through my teachings in the last 3 years, which is not a vast number. But I can honestly tell you that every single person has taken some aspect of change and transformation out of those programs. And I, for one, am immensely proud of these programs. And I just want the world to get onto these programs and change their lives and transform their realities. But this is going to take time. So I hold to the vision and I remain mindful every step of the way. I have another dream. I want to speak on the TEDx stage one day. Now I realize I need to give many more speeches. I need to get far more comfortable perhaps than I am right now sharing. I need to learn how to learn speeches. So my reality is not quite where my vision is, but I have the capacity to see it. And by seeing it, it pulls me forward. And it encourages me every day to ask myself, what next? What next to get there? How are you getting there today, Chantal? And it is this vision, like I say, that pulls me forward. Did you know that humans are the only animals or species that have this ability to see ourselves conceptually? We can see our past. We can see our future. We've got the power of thought. We can think about the thoughts we're thinking. We have a marvelous brain. And as much as I marvel about the dragonfly's vision, our brains, our minds are just as marvelous. And we have no clue what untapped potential lies between our ears. But all I know is I have a dream and it pulls me forward. And it's this vision that I follow every single day. And I aim to fulfill my purpose on this earth. So in closing, this is my journey. This is how the dragonfly inspired me to change, to self-realize, and ultimately to pursue self-actualization. My journey has only just started. My journey is nowhere near finished. My journey will finish on the day that I take my last breath. May I encourage you to embark on your journey of self-actualization today.
Thank you so much, dear Buddha. That was so nice. Thank you. And thank you that you are sitting and listening to the PSA Afghanistan Global Female Leadership Summit 2022 Part 7. We are getting close to the ending of Part 7, and I really appreciate if you can book some maybe 19 minutes or 100 minutes for the next part, which is coming up next week. Thank you so much for listening for this part. Till next week, see you. Tariq Muhammadi.